Hello and welcome to the Heart Hook Home Video Crochet Podcast. My name is Ashley. I am your host and I am the crochet blogger and pattern designer behind hearthookhome.com. For this episode, we are going to talk about a few of my recently finished products. Absolutely loving how these turned out. This houndstooth vest, I literally just finished the edging on this about 15 minutes ago and woven all of my ends. I have tried it on. It's a little bit stiff, so I am going to wash it, which is perfectly, that's exactly how I want it to be, is just a little bit too stiff so that when I wash it, it's got that perfect feel to it. So I am going to throw it in the washer here pretty quick, but I do want to show it to you. This is my September pattern, and since we are, what is today, September 9th, I will be publishing this one in the next couple of weeks. I'm waiting on my testers to finish up. I know that my first tester that got started is right at the bust area where it starts to split off into that V-neck. So really exciting there. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. I also have the brand new September installment of the car series. So as I've said before, I have a different series every year, and in 2022, I am doing a car series. So different useful or helpful or just cute things for your car that you can crochet. I absolutely love crocheting useful things or creating patterns for useful things that are both pretty and helpful and that just make your life just a little bit easier, you know, whether that's just brightening your day like this pattern that I just published today does for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the sunshade first because it's absolutely fabulous. I had an epiphany, which the last time I had one of those, it didn't turn out that great. There was some learning curves that I had to go through right on that one, but this one turned out absolutely perfect. I love it, and I am very excited to share it with you. So this right here, right? These are, you know, those sunshades for your car that you open up and you put them in your windshield and then you collapse them back down. That's exactly what these are. So we have these collapsible sunshades. There's two of them. They are 30 inches across and they fit either under your seat, just like this. It is a little bit bulky because it's crochet, but honestly, it's not that bad, right? Not that bad at all, only a couple of inches. They will fit under your seat if you don't have, you know, a box or anything underneath there. Or mine fits perfectly right in the door of my car. I don't ever use that anyway. So if I have that right here, it's just handy for me, especially during these dog days of summer when it's super hot outside. And I live in an apartment now and it's hot outside and I don't have a garage anymore, which absolutely stinks, but at least this keeps the car cooler, and I'm actually surprised at how remarkably well it does work. So let's open these bad boys up. I had some yarn cakes left over from a project that I had started. Do you remember the Tunisian Sunrise tank? It's a different colorway of this yarn. This is Stroll Gradient. I believe it's a 75% merino wool, or I don't know if it's merino, but it's 75% wool, I'm almost positive, and 25% nylon. If I were to make these and actually purchase yarn, this is just yarn that I used from my stash that I already had. If I were to purchase yarn, I would get something similar to this, probably more of a cotton blend or a very thin 100% cotton. You want to make sure that you're going for lightness, right? Because these, you don't want this to be heavy or it's not going to stay in your window. So the number one thing is to go for the most yardage you can get for the least actual physical weight of the skein, if that makes sense. Each one of these shades takes about 600 yards ish. I kind of bumped it just a little bit to make sure that you would have enough for each of yours. So I did use a little bit more than one cake per shade, right? So what I did also notice is that that yarn must be discontinued. They used to have it available on We Crochet and it is no longer there for sale. And I think that's just because as crocheters, we tend to not use so much fingering weight yarn or super thin yarn, size 1. We tend to use DK weight, maybe a worsted weight, and it also depends on what you're crocheting. If you're crocheting garments or if you're crocheting Afghans. And also, believe it or not, I feel like the yarn weight that you use also depends on where you live in the world. I feel like in certain climates or in certain areas, people use thicker weight yarns or heavier weight yarns, and in some other places, depending on the climate, etc., you use a lot thinner weight yarns. So We Crochet stopped selling this fingering weight yarn, and they also stopped selling, what was the other one? The Felice yarn, the sock yarn that I made with the rustic cabin colorway for my herringbone socks. Yeah, let's have a moment of peace, because I was really kind of saddened by that. But anyway, so I go to Knit Picks, which is the sister company of We Crochet. It's the knitting site of We Crochet. They're sister companies. And I went to grab the link for the Stroll Gradient yarn, and it says goodbye on all of them. So I feel like this yarn is being discontinued across the board. It was still available on Knit Picks for probably another 6 to 9 months after We Crochet stopped carrying it, and I don't know if it was just not selling well or what's happening there, but it is going goodbye. What that means is that they've got really good discounted prices on it right now. So normally I think it was about $16, and it's on sale for about 50% off right now. So if you want to grab this exact same thing, I would recommend getting 4 of them. I know it seems like overkill, but you're only going to use a portion of that second skein for each shade. So you'll have the majority of it left over. I should have brought it out here, but you'll have the majority of that cake left over that you can then use for something else, a scarf or a triangle shawl or something like that. Oh, those Dragon Tears gloves that I made using that same exact yarn. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. So anyway, this yarn's being discontinued apparently, and I'm really sad about it. And all of those words to say that I love this yarn, basically. So let's open this bad boy up. Okay, so you all know how to do this, right? It's just a collapsible sunshade. Ha! Look at that. So there are 2 of these here, right? These are absolutely gorgeous. I love the way that they the spring open. They've got this beautiful stitch. It's just a double crochet stitch, but I think that it just brings out that beautiful color transitions. I also love how it's got the heathered look to it. So they're a little bit weathered, right? So if you look, let's put one down. Okay, if you look up in the stitches, like you can see that it's almost see-through, right? But you would be surprised at how remarkably well this keeps the sun out of your car. I put these up for the first time, and that's another thing. I think, you know, I drive a Fiat, and I've named her Fiona because, I mean, it just fits. And she's adorable. There's a lot of pictures of her modeling these sunshades for us in this new pattern. But she looks like she's smiling. It's adorable. They almost look like little eyeballs, and absolutely adorable. But yeah, so I drive a Fiat, and I feel like the windshield might be a bit of a funkily shaped or maybe odd dimensions, because I was thinking that she was going to need, she's kind of a compact car, and I was thinking she was going to need a smaller or medium-sized shade, and this ends up being on the higher end of a medium-sized shade. So I definitely recommend measuring the inside of your windshield all the way down where the dash meets the windshield, all the way up to where your sun visor is going to pull down and hold it up in place. Definitely measure that, because from my research online, I've seen that there are some sunshades that are a size or small size, probably, I don't know, I'm guessing that'd be for like a Volkswagen Bug or something, you know, like a small compact car like that. And then there's the medium size, and then there's the large size. So they range anywhere from 24 inches all the way up to 32 inches. This right here is 30. So see how you can see through it? I love it. Isn't that great? So these are 30 inches. Now you could either, if you measure yours and it's much smaller than 30 inches, you want to make sure that these are actually going to fit in there and they're not just going to be all floppy and falling down. So you could do a smaller blocking when you go to block these. So what we're doing is we're crocheting a ginormous circle, and then we're taking that and we are blocking it. We're getting it wet and we're putting it in a position with pins, and we're blocking it and making it dry in a certain dimension or a certain shape. That's the whole point of blocking, right? And I have a full tutorial on how to block, whether you're steam blocking or wet blocking, on the blog that I'll link in the description of this video so that you can see what I'm talking about. But if you want to make it, I really did have to stretch this to get it to 30 inches, but that's what we want, right? Because we want it to be nice and stretched and tight. We don't want it to be all loosey-goosey and just kind of like sagging down in the window, right? So If yours is much smaller, you could just block it to a smaller piece. Maybe do 2 less rows or 2 fewer rows and block it to be maybe 25 inches or 26 inches. I did try 26 first and it wouldn't stay up. And I realized, okay, I do have to go to the full 30 inches, which kind of sucked because I had to take the wire out. That's one thing that I did differently with this pattern. So this is actually the kind of wire that millinery shops. So if you have one of those big hats, like a big fascinator hat, that wire that goes around the outside, it goes around the outside of that hat, that's what I used for this. And that's how we were getting it to spring into shape and then make it collapsible again. So I did put a link in the pattern post on Heart Hook Home to the exact wire that I purchased. I bought it from Judith Millinery Supply, I think, and you have to buy it in 5-yard increments. I don't remember how much I bought, or if maybe she just gave me a little extra, but my math says that you need about 10.5 yards, and I only remember buying 10 yards. So yeah, I would still buy the 15 since you have to buy them in increments of 5, or if you already have a sunshade that you have for your car that you use and you like and you know that it fits and it works in your car great, and it maybe you paid 15 bucks for it at Walmart or whatever, reuse the frame. Just take off all of the fabric that's on there, especially if it's already sun bleached or maybe it's just old and you just want to snazz it up. I love that I put these up when I go on my walks in the morning. I go to the main park here where I live, and it's a huge, beautiful park. And I put these sunshades up. I walk around the park. I do several laps. And every time I pass little Fiona, she's just sitting there, and these almost look like little eyeballs, right? But she's just sitting there looking all super cute and crocheted and absolutely yarn queen, like it's beautiful. And I feel like people probably know that it's my car because every once in a while I will put yarn in my pocket and just walk around and crochet while I walk. And I've been thinking about that, and I think that my history or my past, I was in marching band in high school all 4 years, and I feel like that experience really made it to where I can walk and crochet at the same time, or chew gum at the same time. I mean, anything. But because in marching band, they teach you to move your bottom half without moving your top half at all. And I feel like when I'm doing my walks and I'm really getting it and, I walk pretty fast and I'm able to continue to crochet, it's because I don't know, I feel like my marching band past has a big influence on that, if you know what I mean. So if you are also a marching band geek, you're welcome here. We are all kindred folk, and maybe you should try walking and crocheting too, because it's absolutely meditative almost, and then by the end of it you've got something completed. So yes, we have those sunshades. Absolutely love them. Let me see if I can fold them back up very quickly. It's always easier when I'm sitting in the car, right? So there we go. Nope, I don't. Let's try it again. I'm gonna knock her over, aren't I? Got it? There we go. Perfect. So now I would stick this back in the door of my car, and she is ready for next time that I need to protect my car from the heat and it gets so hot in there. These work surprisingly well for being such an open stitch, especially when we block it. So we stretch it so wide and those stitches all just open up. It does a really good job of actually protecting against the sun and keeping it nice and cool in your car. So we use the frames if you have them. I highly recommend that. I will say that if you are going to look for this wire, it's spring steel wire, and I don't know if it goes by something else, but I was unable to find it at most home improvement stores. Like I couldn't find it at Lowe's. I didn't find it at Hobby Lobby. I tried to look there. I looked at Joann. I looked at Michael's. So yeah, that's why I had to order it online. So if you do not want to order that wire online, I think if you were to get 10 yards from that shop, it would be $14, which isn't horrible. But you could also buy a used or a new cheap sunshade for that on Amazon. So I'm like, if you're gonna get one or the other, you might just go ahead and buy, and instead of buying the wire, you might just go ahead and buy a cheap or inexpensive sunshade from Amazon and just cut it apart and use the wire from that, or the frame from that, and just block it to those dimensions and call it good. So if you have any questions about the Car Series pattern for this month, I hope you love it, because I love it. I'm using it all the time and it's absolutely great. So yeah, be sure to send me an email or shoot me a message or whatever, and I will be happy to help you get going on that, especially if you need to adjust the size. So like I said, this houndstooth vest is now complete. I do need to throw it in the wash machine because it's a little bit too stiff, and I will say that I had a lot of ends to weave in on this one. I'm very glad that I did not carry my yarn on the V-neck portion of this. I did cut and reattach my yarn every single row, which monotonous, but I feel like the upper half of this vest would have been very dense and very stiff, or much more stiff actually, because it's already stiff. But if I had carried that yarn every row, it would have just created so much more bulk on the upper half of the sweater than I had on the bottom half. So I did, as we talked about, I believe it was the last podcast when I was showing you all of these yarn ends that I was working on, especially when I was crocheting the back of the vest. I did go ahead and weave in my white yarn ends going in toward the vest, and then I left the black yarn ends until I had attached the edging, and then I took those black yarn ends and I wove them in the opposite direction into the edging, so that not all of my yarn ends were woven into the same section right in that first few inches, or 2 or 3 inches ish, on the edge of the crochet fabric itself, if that makes sense. So it just helps to eliminate some of that extra bulk, just like not carrying the yarn helped to eliminate some of that extra bulk. So I did weave in these black yarns going out towards the edging, and I did the white ones going in, and I just absolutely love this. I'm gonna throw it in the washing machine, get it all nice and washed up and softened up, and I need to go shopping because I want one of those white collared shirts to put under it. I can't decide if I'm gonna wear white pants or jeans. I know it's after Labor Day, so I don't know if I can wear the white, right? Yeah, we'll see, but this is a very exciting one. I'm glad that this is done. Throwing up some silent hallelujahs that it doesn't have sleeves, right? Yay for vests. So with that being finished, I do have a brand new design that is going to be getting on my hook any minute now. Like, all I have to do, I have to go through this pattern, the houndstooth vest pattern. I need to go through it, make sure that I double check all of my math for my sizes, make sure that the stitch counts work up. So what I like to do in that instance, I like to go ahead and get everything edited on my computer, right? And then I go ahead and print the PDF. And then I sit there with highlighters, with several different colors of highlighters, because I use, you know, a certain color for the extra small, and then the small, and then the medium, and I do, you know, blue, and then green, and then yellow, or whatever. But I go through and I actually make the pattern, you know, or pretend like I am for each size, and make sure that, you know, do all of the editing, all of the math, all of the stitch counts and everything to make sure that everything lines up. And so, yeah, I need to do that, and then that pattern is ready. So I do think that I will be publishing this houndstooth vest pattern within the next couple of weeks, as soon as my testers are finished. The last thing that I want to show you today is this beautiful yarn, Brava Sport. Brava, you may know, Brava is one of my favorite yarns. This is the Sport version of it, so it means that it is a size 2 yarn. This would work if you wanted to make the Denzel sweater that we just published at the end of August. If you wanted to use this to make the Denzel sweater, this would be a very good, very economical yarn to use for that. So this is a 100% premium acrylic, machine washable, tumble dry, size 2 yarn. This is available from We Crochet and from Knit Picks, which is the same ones that had the Stroll Gradient yarn that I used for the sunshade. So we know that in October, the October pattern that I'm getting ready, like I've been brainstorming this for a while, usually for a few days to a week before I actually start crocheting on a new pattern. I think about all of the design aspects that I want, all of the different styles and different characteristics that I want to incorporate into this pattern. So I've been thinking about how to construct this hooded poncho, right? The only thing that it doesn't have is pockets, and that's okay because it's a poncho. Like, we're going to be having jeans on underneath, or you know, we're going to be okay. It's going to be great. But the hood, everybody always asks, can we put a hood on it, or can we put pockets on it? And I mean, technically speaking, I might think of a way to include pockets. but it's just such a big flowy thing that I don't think pockets are going to be feasible. And also, if you were to put your phone in there that's decently heavy, it would just kind of like really sag it down, and I don't know about that. But I do plan on using this beautiful Brava Sport in Cobblestone Heather for this new hooded poncho. I'm thinking about the construction of it. I'm so excited to get started. I'm expecting this to use about 1,600 yards for the one size. I do plan on having a one size and a plus size, like a one size fits most type of thing. So I think that it's going to use about 1,600 yards for the one size. Not sure, but that's just my best guess as of right now. So I am getting ready, doing my gauge swatches for this, getting everything situated and ready, and I will be sharing teasers hopefully of this, which will be the October pattern very soon. So make sure that you share pictures with me if you make the sunshade, because I absolutely love it. And again, if you have any questions on sizing or anything, just shoot me an email and I will be happy to help you with that. And look for teasers of the Houndstooth Vest coming very soon to Instagram and Facebook, and I'll probably email a couple teasers too as we get closer to the publication date. So y'all have a great weekend. I'm headed out for a fun night out. I'm going to a movie premiere. One of my best friends, her daughter is in a movie that's just coming out, and so there's the movie premiere tonight, so I'm super excited about that. And so I will be here in 2 weeks for another episode of the Heart Hook Home Video Crochet Podcast. Thanks for joining me, and I will catch you next time.